Okay, we're back on the Waterford FC Podcast, Season 2, Episode number 6, and I'm pleased to say joining me on this episode is our new Cafu, Grant Horton. Grant, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, I'm very good. I'm sure you're good as well. As we record this, you've scored your first Blues goal.
Yeah.
So no better place to start than that. How did that feel?
Oh, it was brilliant. I've been saying the last couple of weeks, like, I'm going to get one. I feel like in the games I've been so close. And I even texted one of my mates, Alfie, currently at Birmingham, and I texted him and said, have you got any tips for me? I'm getting these chances and I can't seem to put them in. And he said, like, just stay composed and, you know, you're going to get one eventually. And then he texted me again straight after and said, I told you. And I was like, well, fair enough, you did tell me. So, yeah, buzzing.
I'm not taking credit, but I met you before as you were going into the RSC, and we knew we were recording this very shortly afterwards. I won't say how shortly afterwards, but quite shortly afterwards. And I said, you need to score the first one for us tonight because we need something to talk about in the podcast.
You did, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I mean, yeah, but in fairness, like, I saw you around in the keeper and I turned to Richie Walsh, who was sitting next to me, and I said, that's not Grant Horton, is it? So, yeah, obviously the tips have been working.
Tips have been working, yeah. I put some new boots on, make myself feel like a player and
so
take it around the keeper.
Beyond tips, though, I mean, look, you were our probably first choice centre half last year. Yeah. How does that move to right wing back? How does that come about?
I think it came about in terms of, so when Laws came in, we were struggling for some games, and we were losing on a little bit of a losing streak, and he kind of just came to me and said, I'm going to put you right wing back, how do you feel? And I was like, at this point I just want to win, to be honest. Right. I just want to win. And he put me there. I did well. I think the first game I played there was Derry, and we won that game.
Yeah.
And then from there, I've just played there, and I've just been doing well, and I'm enjoying it.
So Matt Lawler obviously saw something, obviously being the assistant most of last year. So obviously saw something in you.
Yeah. Well, I've played there before a couple of times. When I was younger, I actually played right wing, so probably translates a little bit. Okay.
And do you feel more comfortable there now in that new position now, or are you going, I'd love to be back playing centre back, or is this maybe now your position?
I'm just enjoying playing football, to be honest. I think, like, wherever I'm playing, I'm just enjoying the games, and whether that's right wing back or centre back, I'm just enjoying playing. I'm getting forward, and like I say, if I can chip in with a few goals as well, it's always fun.
Now, not that you're not always in good spirits, but I do feel like there's a certain glow about you nowadays. You seem to really be enjoying your football.
Yeah, I definitely am. I think that's the same with a lot of the lads. You know, we've had some dark times over the recent weeks. But the lads have all pulled together, and like me especially, I feel like there's just a sort of a glow, like, say, around the whole group. And I'm definitely enjoying my football, and it's learning something new as well for me, and in terms of, like I say, a new position, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. We'll
get back to all the new things from the last couple of months in a few minutes. I'd like to just go back to maybe you arriving in Ireland first. Obviously, you played for Bohemians first before you came to us. How does that move come from going to the UK over to Bows?
I was saying to one of the boys earlier, actually, it was difficult because I was probably, I think I was like 19, 20, moving countries, and it kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. So I think Bohemians, I think Keith, we had an Irish lad, and he contacted me. He was out of contract, and he contacted the club, and he was kind of like, well, he's not for sale or whatever, but we have Grant, who's, just as good. And he contacted, and then it kind of went from there. I spoke to Keith a few times.
What club were you at the time?
I was at Cheltenham.
Cheltenham.
So I was at Cheltenham. We had a player out of contract. Keith contacted him, I think, and then it kind of went from there, and it was like, we've got this lad. And then they came to me and said, well, how do you feel about it? And I was kind of like, it was almost like, first kind of time away from home, different country, what do I do? And I thought, just go for it. Might not get that opportunity again. And, it paid off, in fairness. But when I first came over, I was saying that the league's come on so much. Like, when I first came over, it was, I was training night times. So, like, evening times, and that was new. I was like, what do I do with myself during the day? Like, all this time, don't know what to do with myself.
The league has come so far in such a short space of time, hasn't it?
Definitely. Like, it's been brilliant, to be honest, to watch it grow. It's definitely come a long way. Like, say, all the teams are full-time now, and even the media coverage. Like,
I see, from the media perspective, I see it completely. I mean, I've been going to the game with my dad since I was quite young, and there was times over in the RSC where you could probably do a head count, and that it was what it was, of course. But now, I mean, like, just for my own sake, like, work a little bit for Virgin Media, and when I was up there a couple of weeks ago, they were all asking me, how is things in Waterford? We must do more things in Waterford. I was like, yeah, you should do more things in Waterford. But also, like, even my show on WRFM, I open my show every week with the match reaction, and it's it's just come leaps and bounds. But the quality of player as well, you know, and people like yourself coming over and adding to the league has been amazing.
Yeah, it's been great. Like I say, I think you need players like that coming over and experience it. But I think people are now realising that it is a good league and it's taken seriously. Like you say, all this media coverage, it's getting out there. Like they set a new record in the attendance at the Aviva the recent weeks, didn't they? So that just tells you how much it's come on. So yeah, look, it seems to be going in the right direction. That's for sure.
I mentioned it on the podcast with John, definitely, because obviously John has his own history in the league, and I was talking about from his time at Sligo when he was over there first and now, and it's almost like the cool thing to be into is following League of Ireland, and it's great.
It is great. I was saying you get Friday night League of Ireland, then Saturday, Sunday you've got all the Premier League games and all the other games. So if you're a football fan, you've got loads of football to watch.
Yeah, never a better time to be a football fan. But what was the culture shock like going from Cheltenham? I've never been to Cheltenham. I don't know a lot about it, but like living in Cheltenham, playing your football there, and you're landing in Dublin. Dublin is a fairly, I won't say weird place, but it's a different place. It's a big place.
It's a different place, definitely, in terms of... So Cheltenham's kind of probably a bit more like Waterford in terms of it's a bit more rural and not a huge amount going on, but it's a lot quieter. Whereas Dublin was just everywhere you go, there's something on, traffic's busy, like everywhere. It's almost like just this built-up city where you're like, oh my God, like going in at 1920 was almost like it was a culture shock, but you know they looked after me. To be fair, Keith looked after me really well, and you know I'm grateful for that. But coming over here was just it was different. It was difficult, but you know I think I adapted quite well, to be honest, and I just ended up enjoying it and playing. It was a new experience for me, so that was the main thing for me.
And the move to Waterford then from Bowes, is that a Keith Long thing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So he took me the first time. I went and had a second spell at Bohemians after that,
right?
And then he contacted me. Obviously, my situation at Cheltenham was kind of limited game time, and I kind of was getting a little bit frustrated in terms of I just wanted to play football, to be honest. You know, I don't want to waste my younger years flipping not playing. And he kept contacting me like, you know, what do you think? What do you think? And it was like, oh well, you know, I'm on the bench. I might get a chance. And it was kind of like a chance that I was probably they weren't giving me. So I just thought, you know what, start fresh, play football. And yeah, he brought me here, and you know I've loved it since, to be honest.
Had you played at the RSC for Bowes?
In a pre-season game. Pre-season game when I first came over. So I didn't really know a huge amount about sort of the area or anything like that. But you know, I know they've got a great history, and I know a lot of lads who've come from Waterford and say went to Bohemians, or they're all sort of around the league, and you see the amount of players that have played for Waterford. It seems to be a sort of a good club to come to, and you know a lot of people expand out from there. For
sure. I mean, you see it, well I see it anyway, even in reception in the RSC when the away teams arrive, the amount of ex-players who are coming in shaking hands and reminiscing and stuff like that, you know, it's really around the league. And even when Shels, you know, won the league last year, to see our old players lifting the league, it makes you hungry.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to say, you know. But what are your first impressions, I suppose, when you come here? Not necessarily just at Waterford FC and the RSC and all that kind of stuff, but Waterford City itself.
It's a nice area, to be honest. I'm sort of a country kind of person anyway, so I'm not used to a built-up area where it's loads going on, and it's quite nice to just have that sort of freedom to just go and do what I like. And I'm playing golf at the minute as well, so the golf courses around here are lovely.
Yeah, where are you playing?
Faith Leg.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very nice, very nice. So yeah, people probably see me there sometimes playing with me and James play quite a lot.
Fate Leg, I love that plug, by the way. Carol, you know what I mean? That's stuck in. But no, Fate Leg's a great course. But there's wonderful courses.
A lot of them are very nice, yeah. And there's a lot of the lads that play golf. So I played with Darragh Power the other week.
Right.
So he's back, obviously, from Cheltenham, which was weird. And speaking of him, he went over, and I said, oh, you know, you'll enjoy it. He's asking me sort of stuff about it. And it gets announced, and he's got number 24, and that was my number. Wow. So it's almost like, I suppose it was nice for him in a way. It was like he just took my number, but I was like,
And did he ask you like what was it like over there and stuff?
Yeah, he texted me and just said, you know, what's like kind of what to expect and things to do and where to get his haircut was the main one. I like getting my haircut, so I suppose he's probably asking for that. But yeah, it was just sort of them sort of things like where to go and what to do and keep himself busy, and like I say, the golf courses as well. So there's a lot of nice ones there.
Last season, at the Blues, you know, obviously you're under Keith Long, you've played under him twice before under two separate spells, but like he brings you here, obviously he's high on you, you kind of come straight in over here, you're really established and like we really hit the ground running last year. Was there a lot of kind of excitement around that, or was it trepidatious? Or
I think, yeah, like say everyone gets a bit giddy, you know, it was the first time that they'd been in the league for a long time. So every result sort of that we got felt like a huge win, whether it was a draw and you know, we were saying the other day, it's like you look at teams now where we're kind of disappointed with a draw, and the way that the club's come on from that, we're like, it's brilliant, because we're thinking, we should come away with a win and against some of the bigger teams in the league. So yeah, I've enjoyed it, to be honest. It's been great.
I just remember last year, obviously, supporters, myself, no more than anyone, was very. I got carried away, but we were in the top 4 for a long time. We were pushing for the cup, and then all of a sudden something just happened. Maybe we lost a couple of players through injury or loans ending and stuff like that, and then it just became. I suppose that the nicest way to say is the season kind of petered out a little bit, didn't it?
It did, yeah, which was a bit disappointing when you look back on things in terms of the position that we were in. But I think we're looking to put that right this year. You know, we're in a good position again. The league's so tight; it's like a couple of wins, you're right up there. So you know, I think we have a big push for Europe, and you know, stop worrying about everything else and just focus on ourselves and see where we are at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, it's important under the context of everything to speak about what happened earlier in the season. There's no point in, it's not a propaganda podcast, it's just a podcast about the football club. How disappointing was it? I mean, flying after 3 games, I mean, the first 2 in particular, you're going, what's going to happen here? We're back to where we were last year at the start. And then obviously, look, stuff starts going wrong, and it is quite disappointing. How does that affect you mentally as a player?
It's tough. You know, you kind of say, you just look on to the next game, but you know, you kind of have that thing looming over you in recent weeks where you can't get a win, and it's almost like even the decisions that sometimes the refs make, you're in that, you just don't get the rub of the green when it's kind of going against you. It's all against you, and it's frustrating. But to kind of come out of that and how we've responded to that, I think it's been brilliant. You know, like you say, last year our rough patch was towards the end of the season, whereas it's kind of this time it's been at the start. So hopefully, you know, we can just stop that now. It's gone, and we can just carry on and look forward. For sure, yeah.
And just I promise you we'll move on to more positive things after this. But I was only speaking about it last night because of, listen, your own. Last night, obviously, I'm talking about, as we record this, we had just played Shells. But like I remember a couple of weeks ago, is all it was. You know, that loss to Sligo. 4-0.
Yeah.
Is that almost kind of, obviously it's the lowest point of the season, but is it almost like, right lads, that's now happened, it's time to turn this around?
Yeah, well, like you say, it was like that after every game. We just wanted a response, and it just you had it looming over you, like, don't get me wrong, where, you know, you've been losing, and teams know that you're vulnerable at that point, and that they're kind of going after you. And then I remember Sligo, I think they were 2-0 up in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not what you need. Like, everyone was up for the game, don't get me wrong, but it was almost like something just wasn't clicking. To find yourself 2-0 down, and then you're like, where do we go from here, kind of thing. And it's ended in Keith going, and that's a shame. Yeah. Obviously, you know, no, I don't wish that on anyone, especially as it's been great for me. But you know, Laws then came in, and it was almost like a fresh face, fresh ideas, and it seemed to just give us the sort of confidence and you know, to kick on, which I think is important, you know. And then, you know, John and Danny come in, and they kind of build on that as well. So yeah, they've been great coming in.
Well, obviously I'm leading all this into John and Danny's arrival, because I mentioned your own energy and how bright you seem to be around the place now, enjoying your football. But I think, and this is just my opinion, I'm sure you'll back me on it though, since John and Danny have arrived, the whole club, and it's absolutely nothing against Keith, I love Keith, and I still have a lot of respect for Keith, it's nothing to do with that. It's just, I feel like with the change on John and Danny, there's just something has changed. It's just a brightness or a new energy, I suppose.
Yeah, new energy. Like, say, new ideas, and it's kind of different. You know, you try to think different things. He's got us playing a lot more. Like, I know he said on the podcast that he was on, that he's got my position a lot higher. Like, I remember in one of the games, my average position was up with the strikers, which was, obviously I'm used to being at centre back. So that's kind of, it's just about, like, we're just more on the front foot, and I think we just look a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident going forward, and just, like, say, have that kind of energy. And teams are starting to realise it's difficult to kind of play against Waterford, because we're playing some good football. Some games we've probably been disappointed with the results, that we feel like we should have got stuff, but you know, that's the football in at the end of the day, is if you can keep ticking off wins and, you know, taking teams and carrying on, then you're gonna find yourselves in the spots, especially in this league.
No, Matt, like, and he said that bridge with Matt Lawler was something special. Those little contained groups, Cork aside, obviously. Yeah. That was just a special moment. It just felt like something was happening, and then John comes in and builds on it. But like, there's been some huge results. Like, I know there's been we've gotten sucker punched a few times, but the general consensus, and just being in the hospitality lounge myself with a lot of the fans, the feedback seems to be things are changing, everything's on the way up, and positivity.
I think what the fans want to see is just work rate, to be honest. It's like the results then come with that. But if you're not putting in the work rate, then obviously everyone's going to be annoyed. And rightly so, they pay their money and everyone is grateful for them to come. But if you're not pulling your weight, it's just kind of... that no one wants to see that. If you're not getting the results but you've worked hard, everyone can stand by that and go, we gave our best. But like I say, when Laws came in, I think it was good because he knew a lot of the players already from the previous year. So he knew we probably weren't meeting our standards that we had already set from the year before, and he kind of just brought it out of us and gave us the confidence again, and changed things, gave us new ideas, and lads were just refreshed kind of thing. It was like a weight lifted in terms of it's a new start, new manager. Let's just kick on from here and put that all back behind us. Yeah.
And you mentioned you're playing golf with James Olinka. How have the new arrivals like him, how has it been with he's certainly settled in. My God, what a signing he's been. Yeah. Like how big are signings like him and even Trey, who's obviously spent a fair bit of time injured, but we had a very settled team last year. Yeah. How have the new guys?
I think they've settled in well. It's a great group of lads. Obviously, I knew James before. He was at Cheltenham as well. So so I actually live with him now, him and Trey. So
Did you live together in Cheltenham?
No. So just here. So so I knew him already. So he's probably kind of settled in, maybe a bit quicker than some of the others might have, having the sort of the familiar face with me. And Trey obviously has been great as well. But it's been, I think they've been great. The lads have been brilliant with everyone coming in, even say Conan and Tommy. Everyone's kind of settled in. We're all sort of similar ages, which I think makes it probably a bit easier in terms of things to talk about. And like I say, a lot of them play golf. Me and James play it quite a bit. It's just, it keeps ourselves busy. You can kind of, at lunch, you don't find yourself splitting off in groups, and everyone's sort of come together. And so that was a main thing as well that John and Danny brought in. It was like, I want everyone sitting together. Like sometimes the gaffer's sitting with us, Danny's sitting with us, and we're all just a big group, which is great. There's no separation. Everyone speaks freely, and it's been great.
One thing that stood out to me, and you mentioned it a few times yourself at the start, there's a lot of talk of Europe. Will Watt, director of Fleetwood and Waterford, was in the hospitality lounge with me only a couple of weeks ago now, and usually there's a lot, not usually, sometimes it's a softball kind of a thing. Don't ask me about this. He just said, let's talk about anything. And one of the big things was John keeps talking about Europe, because he's managed, I think, over 1,500 games or something like ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Probably more than that. Yeah, but I don't think he's ever managed in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, and that's one of the big things. And he sees this, I think, as his opportunity for that. Yeah. Is that something you speak about? Because obviously fans talk about, I'd love to win the cup, I'd love to get to Europe. But is that something that you go, right, lads? Okay, the results are maybe this way or that way, but this is what we need to focus on.
Everyone's sort of pulling in the right direction. Everyone's pointing in the right way, which is great. And he does talk about it a lot. It's like say this is what the club want to push for, and everyone. I think with results that we've had, when you see us beating teams, I think we can beat anyone.
Yes, for sure.
Which is obviously a main thing as well. So we're beating teams, and we're going, well, why can't we get it?
The league is very tight as well.
Exactly. So why can't Watford get Europe? There's no reason why we can't. We've shown that we can beat the teams, and if we can cut out some mistakes and get the results, maybe where you shouldn't get a result and you get a result, then definitely I don't see why we can't get Europe. And I think that's great from the manager as well. He's sort of implemented that in everyone, and said this is what we're driving for. If you're not on board, then you know where the door is.
Yeah, there was a famous quote that came out that apparently Danny Ventry said just before the mid-season break that, if you don't think you can pull in that direction for us, don't come back after the break. Is that true?
Yeah, he did say that, and it's rightly so, to be honest. If you don't believe that, then there's no point in you being here, to be honest, because that's the same anywhere you go, though. If you don't see yourself at the highest ambitions and pushing for things, then you're just kind of going to, like say, peter out, and you're not going to really kick on, which I think is important for this group, definitely. Yeah, and listen, I'm not saying that to put pressure on anyone, because I think everyone is quite realistic surrounding the club about where we're at, comfortable at the moment, whatever. You know what I mean? But maybe not. Now, look, maybe this season, maybe not this season, but definitely heading towards next season. I know that's what Will Watt was saying, that is definitely the aim. But I think that honestly, with the core group of players that are there at the moment, I think there is big things to come. I think definitely. If we can keep the core group and sort of have them ambitions from the start, it will definitely help us. And you know, we're kicking on for things. Like, we're disappointed with results that we haven't had, and like I said before, in terms of, you'd probably take results that we've had, in terms of, if you said that before the game, you'd take it. But as a group coming in off the pitch, you're kind of like, oh, we should have got a win there, 3 points. But, you know, like I say, if everyone can kick in the right direction, we're definitely in a good spot, that's for sure.
And I did mention, you know, in years past, you could have probably done a head count on the RSE, but there's always been this core group, maybe a couple of core groups would be more appropriate to say, of diehard Blues. Whether that be the Block E Boys or the Blue Supporters Club or any of the West Waterford or any of the other supporters clubs, there's always been these core groups who've always been there through name changes, through manager changes. How important is the relationship with you guys, the players, and those diehards, or just the supporters in general? Because I think we've got an amazing supporter base.
Yeah, they've been brilliant this year, definitely, as well. I think it helps us get over the line, like when in results where you, like even last night where we played Shelbourne, we're hanging on kind of for a point, and the noise is just great. It makes you carry on and push for things. And when the RC gets rocking, I'm sure it's hard for away teams to come and try and get anything from us. And I think that's what we want, is to make the RC a difficult place to come. And people don't like coming and taking points. And if they take points, they've got to work for it. It's not just given to them on a play.
Yeah, and the travelling Blues as well. They travel like incredibly well, incredible numbers. And we played Derry, you know, quite shortly as well. And I know that there's a big number travelling to that as well. Is the travelling support surely is just as important?
Yeah, it's brilliant. You look at when you're playing away. Yeah. When you're playing away, you just kind of like look over, and it's a fair distance as well. It's a fair play to them. So when they travel, it's definitely appreciated by all players, definitely. And if we can get a lot more, hopefully it's going to keep building as the years go on, and maybe more local people will come to the games. So it's definitely brilliant.
Oh, the crowds have been, you know, sustainably growing and stuff like that, and the support that we get just from the commercial side of things, from me, through local business and stuff like that, is incredible, I think, you know. And everyone seems to be behind it. Everyone wants to see everyone doing well. But just for yourself, Grant, personally, what are your personal ambitions and goals?
Well, I've never played in Europe either, to be honest. So I think that's a big one for me. I want to just kind of keep playing my football and just enjoying it, to be honest. I take each game as it comes, and, you know, where you find yourself at the end of the season, where you find yourself. But, you know, I think everyone's got to try and push for different things. Everyone wants to go, and everyone's at different stages of their career. You know, like Conan's on loan. He'll go back, maybe potentially try and push to get in their team, or, you know, everyone's at sort of different stages. But I think for me, it's definitely just about enjoying my football and seeing where it takes me, to be honest.
For sure. I think you're really, like, obviously it's very clear to see maybe a little bit of a sleeper agent for player of the season so far. I'm only just saying that, but I think honestly it's really great to see you enjoying your football so much, and everyone as well. What's your golf handicap?
I haven't got one yet, actually. I need to hand my scorecards in, but
nice.
I'm hoping it'll be good, but not too good, where I can kind of keep beating James.
a bit of a bandit golfer. I understand. Well, look, Grant, I really appreciate your time and joining us. It's great to finally sit down and chat. We've been on about doing this for a while. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thanks for having me. It's been I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.